Good morning, my dear students of intermediate first year as well as second year. It has been a good morning and I would like to start with a new topic. Today we are going to talk about an interesting item. You know, to me and to everyone, English first paper is disgusting or boring to some extent because it is useless. But today I am not supposed to conduct a class, but I have been given an opportunity. That's why I am here and I'd like to talk about transformation of sentence, and you can see on the board. This is a class for both first year and second year, and I'm going to talk about transformation of sentence, especially simple, complex and compound. Dear students, you know that transformation of sentence contains 5 marks, but for this item you have to take preparation on number 1 degree, number 2 voice, number 3 sentence according to structure, and sentence according to meaning. And these 4 segments constitute transformation of sentence. You have to learn degree, you have to learn voice, you have to learn sentence according to structure, that is simple, complex and compound. You have to learn sentence according to meaning. There are assertive, interrogative, imperative, operative and exclamatory. And I'm sure Adnan sir has started with sentence according to meaning. He has started with affirmative to negative, then he will conduct assertive to interrogative, assertive to imperative and vice versa, assertive to exclamatory and vice versa. After completing these items, he will start degree, then voice. But today I am here to talk about simple, complex and compound, that is sentence according to structure. For some of the students, this topic seems to be difficult. I want to show you that this is really interesting, and if you give your 100% concentration, I'm sure you'll be able to understand me. So my dear students, what we are going to talk about today, we are going to talk about transformation of sentence, and that is simple, complex and compound. So my dear student, look at the board. And if you face any difficulties, please don't hesitate to have question in the comment box, my dear students. Okay, I will be there for you, and I will try to see your every comment, and I will try to see your question while I am in my live class. So my dear students, let us not waste a single moment. We need to start transformation of sentence, simple, complex and compound. Dear students, if I have a question, what is the classification of sentence? What would you say? Do you know the classification of sentence? Sentences are of 2 types, 3 types, 4 types, 5 types. What is your answer? Write in the comment box, please. What is your answer, my dear students? Do you know the classification of sentence? If I have this question, what should be your answer, dear students? Okay. We have got a lot of students with me right now. Dear students, this is a class for the students of intermediate first year, and the students of first year will appear in 2022 HSC examination. There the transformation remains. Okay. Do you know the classification of sentence? I'd like to have your answer. Dear students, Sentences are of 3 types. Sentences are of 5 types. Sentences are of 5 types. Sentences are of 3 types. Which one is correct? Which one is correct? 3 types or 5 types? What do you think? Sentences are of 3 types. This is correct. Sentences are of 5 types. This is also correct. But how? Sentences can be classified. Sentences can be classified. That is, we can classify sentence. We can classify sentence into 3 types according to structure. The students, we can classify sentences into 3 types according to structure. I'm going to repeat. We can classify sentence into 3 types according to structure. They are simple, complex, and compound. And sentences are of 5 types according to meaning. According to what? According to meaning. They're assertive, interrogative, imperative, optative, exclamatory. So you have got me, I think. We can classify sentences by virtue of 2 things. One is the structure, another is meaning. According to structure, we can classify sentences into 3 types. They are simple, complex, and compound. And according to meaning, we can classify sentences into 5 types. They are assertive, interrogative, imperative, optative, and exclamatory. Today, we have taken a decision to talk about simple, complex, and compound. And simple, complex, and compound are the classifications of sentence according to structure. So, my dear students, let us start with simple, complex, and compound. These are the sentences which have been into force, which have been into light because of sentence according to structure. So, up to this part, we have confirmed that according to structure, we can classify sentences into 3 types. They are simple, complex, and compound. Now, my dear students, we need to know how we can identify simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence. How can we identify simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence? I have told you that simple, complex, and compound sentences are according to structure. So, simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence can be identified only with their individual structures. I'm going to repeat. Simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence can be identified only with their individual structures. Question arises, what the structures of simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence are? We need to know. Okay, so my dear students, time has come to talk about the structures of simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence. You can only identify simple sentence, complex sentence, and compound sentence according to structure. Now, I have a question. Who can give me? I'm starting with simple sentence. Simple sentence can be identified with its individual structure. What is the structure of simple sentence? Who can tell me? Write in the comment box. Write in the comment box. What do you mean by simple sentence? How can you identify simple sentence? Write in the comment box, my dear students. I am waiting for your answer. Enam, you are absolutely correct. Thank you, Ghulam Jilani, thank you. My question is, what is the, how can you identify simple sentence? Who can tell me? Yes, we can identify simple sentence with its individual structure, but what is the structure of simple sentence? Who can tell me? Nobody is replying. I want to know the structure of simple sentence. Is there any volunteer who can write in the comment box? Thank you, Raihan. Thank you. Thanks go to Raihan. Very good. Fazle Rabbi, thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, my dear students, simple sentence. A simple sentence has its individual structure, and that is one subject and one finite verb. So simple sentence consists of one subject and one finite verb. Dear students, a simple sentence consists of one subject and one finite verb. Question arises, what a finite verb is? Now we need to know what a finite verb is and what a non-finite verb is. Ghulam Zilani, you are writing subject, verb, then object. My question is, what is a finite verb and what is a non-finite verb? Okay. Now let us calculate. Now we need to know a finite verb. A simple sentence is made up of one subject and one finite verb. Now question arises, what a finite verb is? Look at the board. Now I am going to talk about finite verb. Finite verb. What is finite verb? Do you have any conception regarding finite verb, dear students? Do you have any conception regarding finite verbs? Look at please. I have written a sentence on the board, my dear students. I have written a sentence on the board. We read books to satisfy the hunger of mind. We read books to satisfy the hunger of mind. Look at this sentence. We read books to satisfy the hunger of mind. I have a question from this sentence. I have a question from this sentence. What type of tense, my dear students, what type of tense do you identify in this sentence? What type of tense do you identify in this sentence? Who can tell me? Is it a present indefinite, past indefinite, future indefinite, blah 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 blah? Give me the tense of this sentence. What type of tense do you find in this sentence? Yes. I want to know the tense of the sentence that I have written. Yes, I'm still waiting for you. Yes, this is an example of present indefinite tense. My dear student, this is an example of present indefinite tense. Look at, this is an example of present indefinite tense, and this tense can be identified with a read. A read is such a verb which helps you to identify the tense of this sentence. Here, to satisfy is also a verb. But with to satisfy, you can't identify the tense of this sentence. Dear students, we are talking about the process of identifying finite verb and non-finite verb. We know that finite verb means samapika kriya, non-finite verb means asamapika kriya. Now we are looking for the process of identifying finite verb and non-finite verb. Here, read is such a verb which helps us to identify the tense of a sentence. This is an example of present indefinite tense, and this present indefinite tense can be identified only with read. To satisfy doesn't help us to identify the tense of the sentence. Now, I have a formula here. If any verb, my dear students, if any verb helps you to identify the tense of a sentence, that verb will be finite. The verb which helps us to identify the tense of a sentence is called finite verb. A non-finite verb doesn't help us to identify the tense of a sentence. Is my message clear to you? I have told you that a simple sentence has one subject and one finite verb. A simple sentence has one subject and one finite verb. My question is, what a finite verb is? A finite verb is such a verb which help us to identify the tense of a sentence. That's why I can say read is a finite verb, to satisfy is a non-finite verb. Clear to you? So in this process we have identified the finite verb and the non-finite verb. Look at please. Every finite verb, I have another formula to give you. Every finite verb has a subject, has a definite subject in the sentence. Every finite verb has a subject in a sentence. But non-finite verbs don't possess any subject in the sentence. So the verb by which you can identify the tense of a sentence is called finite verb. The verb which is with a subject is a finite verb. Okay, clear to you? I have given you two formula. Formula number one, the verb by which you can identify the tense of a sentence is a finite verb. Here, read is such a verb which helps you to identify the tense of a sentence. That's why we can say read is a finite verb. Here, there is another verb, that is to satisfy. To satisfy doesn't help us to identify the tense of this sentence. That's why we can say that this is a non-finite verb. Formula number one. Now, formula number two. Every finite verb has subject in a sentence, but non-finite verb doesn't possess any subject in the sentence. This is formula number two. Look at please. Read is such a verb which has a subject, and that is we. To satisfy doesn't maintain a subject directly. That's why you can say read is a finite verb, to satisfy is a non-finite verb. There is another formula you can apply for identifying finite and non-finite. Is my message clear to you regarding the identification of finite verb and non-finite verb? I have given you two formula. Finite verbs help us to identify the tense of a sentence, and finite verbs have always subjects in the sentences. Okay, and non-finite verbs don't help us to identify the tense of a sentence. Non-finite verbs don't possess any subject in the sentence. Clear to you? Up to this part, I think it's clear to you. Now, I have another question. That is, look at, this is an example of present indefinite tense. This is an example of present indefinite tense. If we turn this present indefinite into present continuous, if we turn this sentence into present continuous, we read books to satisfy the hunger of mind. My dear students, you are requested to turn this sentence into present continuous. The answer should be we are reading books to satisfy We are reading books to satisfy hunger of mind. I have turned this sentence into present continuous, and that is, we are reading books to satisfy the hunger of mind. Dear students, we are reading books to satisfy the hunger of mind. I have turned present indefinite into present continuous, and when I am going to turn this tense from present indefinite to present continuous, look at please, the verb read has been changed, but the verb to satisfy is totally unchanged. We have got another formula to identify finite and non-finite here. Be very, very attentive, my dear students. The verbs which change according to person, number and tense is called finite verb. The verbs which don't change according to person, number and tense are called non-finite verb. Okay, I have turned this sentence from present indefinite to present continuous. While I am changing, the first verb has been changed, and that's why we can call read a finite verb. And if you turn this sentence into present continuous, present perfect, past indefinite, past continuous, past perfect, blah 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 blah, you are unable to change the verb to satisfy. That's why to satisfy is a non-finite verb. Okay, so my dear students, up to this part I have given you three formulas to identify finite verb and non-finite verb, and I am talking about finite and non-finite verb to identify the structure of simple sentence. You know that simple sentence contains one subject and one finite verb, but some of the students face difficulties to identify finite verb and non-finite verb. In Bengali, finite verb means samapika kriya, non-finite verb means asamapika kriya. Finite verbs can be identified by three formulas. I have already taught you. Number one, finite verbs help you to identify the tense of a sentence. Number one. Number two, finite verbs maintain subject in the sentence. And number three, finite verbs can be changed according to person, number and tense. Is my message clear to you? Thank you for your reply, my dear students. Today I am a guest teacher. This is not a class belonging to me. This is a class of Adnan sir, and Adnan sir is busy with an official job. That's why I am here, and I'd like to thank our chairman sir for giving me a chance to conduct this class on simple, complex and compound. Okay, so my dear students, we have already, I can expect that my dear students have really understood finite verbs and non-finite verb. Okay, so up to this part we have completed how to identify finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Look at this sentence. In this sentence we have got one subject and one finite verb. One interesting information for you. Look at please, one important information for you. The number of subject and finite verbs, the number of subjects and finite verbs, I am going to repeat, my dear students, the number of subjects and finite verbs in the sentences of the whole world must be parallel. Must be parallel. If you get 1000 subject in a sentence, there must be 1000 finite verbs. Is my message clear to you? If you get one subject, there must be one finite verb. If you get one finite verb, there must be one subject. The number of subjects and finite verb must be parallel. Suppose you have got 5 verbs. You have got 5 verbs in a sentence. Suppose you have got 5 verbs in a sentence, and there is only one subject. You must have to ensure that one verb will be finite, but the rest of the verbs, that is 4 verbs, will be non-finite. So my dear students, up to this part I have been able to make you understand finite and non-finite verb. Now look at the board. We read books to satisfy the hunger of mind. If we turn this sentence, we are reading books to satisfy hunger of mind. Here read is a finite verb, to satisfy is a non-finite verb. Okay, now look at my dear students. This is an example of present indefinite tense. This is an example of present indefinite tense, and this is an example of present indefinite tense because of we read. We is the subject and read is the present form of the verb. This process maintains the structure of present indefinite. That is, we can identify the tense of this sentence with read. That's why read is the finite verb, and in this sentence we have got one subject and one finite verb. Because of these elements, we can say that this is an example of simple sentence. Okay, one subject and one finite verb. If you get more than one subject and one finite verb, definitely we will not get a simple sentence. A simple sentence maintains only one subject, one finite verb. Okay, up to this part I am sure you have got me. You have got. Very easy now. Thank you, Polash. Should I start complex sentence? Should I start complex sentence? At the very beginning of my lecture, I have told you that sentences are of 3 types according to structure: simple, complex, and compound. Simple sentence can be identified. Simple, complex, and compound sentence can be identified only with their individual structures. In the meantime, I have already talked about simple sentence and its structures. The structure of simple sentence cannot be similar to complex sentence. That is, complex sentence has also its individual structure. Most of the students of lower secondary or higher secondary level transform the sentences of simple, complex, and compound with guess power. If you have a good sense, if you had a clear sense of the structure of simple, complex, and compound, I'm sure you will get interested in transformation related to simple, complex, and compound. Dear students, try to simple, complex, and compound, that is simple, complex, and compound, transformation of sentence, that is simple, complex, and compound, is really mathematical. It is not a matter of memorizing, but it is a matter of implementation of the rules of simple, complex, and compound. Okay, now my dear students, let us start complex sentence. The structure of simple sentence and complex sentence is completely different. Now I'd like to talk about the structure of complex sentence. Okay, I have completed simple. Then in Bengali complex sentence means jotil bakyo or mishro bakyo. Complex sentence means jotil bakyo ebong mishro bakyo in Bengali. Actually, I have been conducting classes in English from the beginning. Actually, I'd like to continue this motion till the end of your session. At the very beginning, some of my students might have faced difficulties to understand me, but now I think you can understand my English well, because I always use simple languages to understand. My dear students, Sumaya Akhtar, this is not a class of right forms of verb. This is a class of simple, complex, and compound. That means transformation. Okay. Now Tasinul, this is not the class of first paper. I will conduct a class on first paper. As this class contains English second paper according to routine, I am talking about English second paper. Okay. Now complex sentence. Complex sentence means jotil bakya or mishra bakya. Who can give me the structure of complex sentence? Raihan Hussain, thank you. Who can give me the structure of complex sentence? Who can give me the structure of complex sentence? Those who will be able to give me the perfect structure of complex sentence will be given treat by me today. Okay? I will give you a treat if you give me the perfect structure of complex sentence. Are you ready to be given treat? Give me the structure of complex sentence, but don't try to get the answer from the book. Try to use your talent. I will give you the example of complex sentence. I will try to make you understand the total structure of complex sentence. I will give you a lot of examples. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Habibur Rahman, a boy of Dhaka College, section A, as far as I know. Dhaka College English department has a lot of brilliant teachers, and you will get their classes. Wait for a while. We are totally responsible for the completion of both first paper and second paper. We will work unitedly under the leadership of our chairman, sir, Professor Prunjay Biswas. Thank you. Now look at the board, my dear students. Now look at the board. I'm really depressed because time is moving so fast. I have just talked about simple sentence. I have just talked about finite and non-finite verb, but I have already spent 33 minutes. Only 17 minutes are left. Very sad for me. We need to have a class of 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours continuously. Then we will be able to satisfy the hunger of our learning. Yes, look at please. Complex sentence means jotil bakya or mishra bakya. I have written, look at please, what have I written? 1 PC and 1 SC. Some of you might face difficulty to understand my language. 1 PC and 1 SC. What does it mean? Yes, Said Faisal, excellent answer. Complex sentence. The students, look at please. The sentence which contains one principal clause and at least the sentence which maintains or contains one principal clause and at least one subordinate clause is a complex sentence. So complex sentence contains one principal clause and at least one subordinate clause. So one principal clause and one subordinate clause jointly constitute a complex sentence. Yes, you will get the treat, my dear students. A complex sentence contains one principal clause and one subordinate clause. But question arises, some of the students face difficulties to understand clause, principal clause and subordinate clause. Now I want to talk about clause, principal clause and subordinate clause. Dear students, I'd like to take a lot of time for teaching you simple, complex and compound. If I am unable to complete this class today, I will take more classes. Okay, now let us talk about clause, principal clause and subordinate clause. Clause in Bengali, it's called Bakangsho. It's called Bakangsho. Tasunul, you are absolutely correct. Although I don't have any knowledge related to physics or chemistry, because in my life I haven't studied in science group. I am really weak in science or mathematics, you can say that. Clause, my dear students. Rafiz, you need treat. Okay, make contact with me after the class is over. Okay, make contact with me after the class is over. I will give you treat for sure. Clause means Bakangsho. Now I'd like to give you the definition of clause. Just look at me and try to understand attentively, very, very attentively. Clause. Dear students, clause is a part of a greater sentence. Clause is a part of a greater sentence, my dear students. Clause is a part of a greater sentence, having one subject and one finite verb. Clause is a part of a greater sentence. Dear students, clause is a part of a greater sentence. Clause is a part of a greater sentence having one subject and one finite verb. And I have already talked about subject and finite verb. Clause is a part of a greater sentence having one subject and one finite verb. I am going to repeat. Clause is a part of a greater sentence having one subject and one finite verb. Look at please. Sorry, I'd like to give you some easy examples. Look at my dear students, I have written a sentence. Well, let's try to concentrate on learning. I will give you an announcement at the end of my class. I who am made of earth will be reduced to dust. I who am made of earth will be reduced to dust. I who am made of earth will be reduced to dust. I who am made of earth will be reduced to dust. Look at this sentence, my dear students. Who am made of earth. Can I say that this is a part of a sentence? Who am made of earth. This is a part of a sentence. If I omit this part, who am made of earth, there remains another part, and the part is I will be reduced to dust. So in this part we have got, in this sentence we have got two parts. The first part is I will be reduced to dust, and the second part is who am made of earth. Okay, now look at, as we have got two parts in this sentence. The first part, I will be reduced to dust. This is a part of a sentence. This is a part of a sentence, my dear students. This is a part of a sentence, and if this part contains one subject and one finite verb, definitely it maintains the conditions of becoming clause. I will be reduced to dust. I is the subject and will be is the finite verb. That's why I can say this is a clause. I don't know whether it is a principal clause or a subordinate clause. Now look at who am made of earth. This is also a part of this sentence, and this part also maintains a finite verb. Okay, and this is working as the subject. So I can say that this sentence contains two parts. The first part is I will be reduced to dust, and the second part is who am made of earth. And both the parts contain one subject and one finite verb. In this regard, I can say that we have got clauses. Now we have to identify. Principal clause and subordinate clause. Dear students, the clause which can express its meaning without the help of any other clauses in a sentence is called a principal clause. The clause which can independently express its meaning without the help of any other clauses in a sentence is a principal clause, and principal clause is called independent clause. Okay, and if any clause remains dependent on principal clause, it is called, this clause is called subordinate one. So subordinate clause is dependent on principal clause, but principal clause doesn't depend on subordinate clause because it is independent. So my dear students, clause is a part of a greater sentence having one subject and one finite verb. Clause is a part of a greater sentence having one subject and one finite verb. And if you get a clause in a sentence, you have to identify whether this clause depends on any other clauses or not. If any clause depends on any other clauses like principal clause, this will be subordinate clause. And if any clause doesn't depend on any other clauses, it will be principal clauses or clause. Now I'd like to give you another example. When danger is gone, when danger is gone, God is forgotten. Dear students, I have written another sentence. When danger is gone, God is forgotten. Many students have created a spelling mistake. Dear students, principal. Don't write P-L-E, it should be P-A-L. If you write P-L-E, it means clue. In Bengali, it's called sutra. So principal, P-A-L. You can write P-L-E, but it will denote other thing. It will not indicate the main, or you can say the main part. Yes, when danger is gone, God is forgotten. Dear students, when danger is gone, God is forgotten. This sentence has two parts. This sentence has two parts. The first part, when danger is gone, and danger is the subject, is gone is the finite verb. That's why you can say this is a clause. When danger is gone is a clause. God is forgotten. This is also a clause because God is the subject, is the finite verb. So, my dear students, if you get any clause in a sentence, definitely it will contain one subject and one finite verb. And if any clause doesn't depend on any other clause, it will be principal. And subordinate clause always depends on principal clauses or clause. Okay? And if you get one principal clause and one subordinate clause in a sentence, it will be complex. It will be complex. Is it clear, my dear students? I have written a sentence, I love you. I love you. Is it simple sentence and complex sentence? Who can tell me? Is it simple sentence and complex sentence? I have a question. I love you. Is it a simple sentence and complex sentence? Thank you. Alok, Tasin, Trisha, Tariq. I love you. What kind of sentence this is? Jilani is very naughty. Simple but lovely. Oh my God. Simple sentence. Sure. Are you sure? What kind of sentence is this? Simple, complex and compound. Tell me. Oh my God. Maruf, is it complex? How is it possible? Okay, this is a simple sentence because it contains one subject and one finite verb. A simple sentence contains one subject and one finite verb. A complex sentence contains one principal clause and one subordinate clause. But my question is, try to turn this sentence into complex. Try to turn this sentence into complex. Try to turn this sentence into complex. Who can tell me? Thank you, Yusuf Ahmed. Yes, try to turn this into complex. And when you are going to turn this sentence into complex, it means you have to create one principal clause and one subordinate clause. You have three words, I love you. With these three words, you have to create one principal clause and one subordinate clause. And if you can create, definitely you will get 1 marks. It is not a matter of memorization. It is a matter of creativity, my dear students. Oh my God, excellent answers. It is I who love you. It is I who am love you. Very sad. It is I who am in love with you, my God. I who am, oh my God, you are writing, oh my God. My dear students, whatever you write must contain one principal clause and one subordinate clause. But you can't change the meaning because this is transformation of sentence. You have to create one principal clause and one subordinate clause, but you are not allowed to change the meaning. If you can create one principal clause and one subordinate clause without changing the meaning, definitely it will become complex sentence. Okay? Oh my God, thank you for your excellent participation today, my dear students. I will not give you the answer today because time is almost up. It has been, but I haven't completed compound sentence. If I get another class on simple, complex and compound, actually the transformation of sentence is relatively dependent on Adnan sir. I have been given the responsibility of first paper and some other grammatical items. If I am given another opportunity to conduct a class on simple, complex and compound, I will finally talk about compound sentence and some rules. So my dear students, I'm really overjoyed with the performance of you today. Time is almost up. I always expect that you participate in this way, and those who have done those who have given me the correct answer, I told you that I would give you a treat. Okay, after 11:30, those who are in here, I am in college, I will give you treat whenever I get time. So my dear students, you have given your treat because you have given me the correct answer. Okay, so my dear students, this is all for today. Thank you for being with me. I'm willing to meet you very soon. Thank you. Goodbye.